you'll stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
may be seated. Roll call, please.
Bradley.
Present.
Snipco.
Here.
Thomas. Weeks.
Here.
McDaniel.
Present.
Raver. Gilchrist. Clark.
First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Would entertain a motion for approval.
I have an addition to the minutes from June's meeting, back page, I think. It says Councilman McDaniel reported that he was preparing to set up a park board meeting. He also suggested that the city provide a larger zoning map. Well, with that was, we wanted to update the zoning map that's on the city's website to reflect the ordinances that we have now in the zoning. It's 2005, and we wanted to get a current one out here in the hallway so when people come in, they can see the accurate one, the up-to-date one. And I think you said that you were going to check with the courthouse.
Yes, that's okay. So noted. Any other additions or corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Thomas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is Mayor Proclamation presentation. If the Holden police officers that are present would come forward, please. Whereas there are approximately 780,000 law enforcement officers serving in the communities across the United States, including the dedicated officers in the community of Holden, Missouri, and whereas nearly 50,000 assaults annually against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 14,000 injuries, and whereas between 105 and 203 officers die in the line of duty each year, whereas in light of recent negativity directed toward law enforcement nationally, there is a need to show law enforcement officers that our citizens recognize the difficult and sometimes impossible career they have chosen in public service to us all. Whereas July 17, 2015 is hereby designated as Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in the city of Holden, Missouri, and now therefore I, Rick Edwards, Mayor, do hereby encourage all citizens of Holden, Missouri to salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community by publicly thanking a police officer for their service. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of this city to be affixed. Thank you. Next on the agenda, under petitions and communications, will be a presentation by Mike Keith Insurance Agency in our annual review for insurance. If Paul would come forward.
Yeah, well, you notice I'm not Mike, so, and as hot as it is, I'll try not to expend too much hot air for you. What I pass out here is just a comparison of where your insurance renewal was last year and what it is this year. The bulk of your coverage is with Savers Property and Casualty. They are a very stable market. There's been only a $252 increase this year. as opposed to where you were a year ago, even though some of your budgetary items changed. The reason we ask for your budget is we take out capital improvements because it's not a normal ongoing expense. So we only want to charge you for the premises and operations of what you're actually doing on a daily basis for that situation. So here's the renewal. I'll kind of go over it briefly. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. There again, try to keep it as brief as possible.
Yes.
Take this back, try to get started. The first portion there, the first page basically is the general liability. As I stated, that's why we require a budget each year on that. Typically, your general liability, since you're a public entity, you fall under the sovereign immunity law in the state of Missouri that caps the limit of liability the public entity can be held accountable for. So currently, those limits are $409,123, one person, $2,727,489, all persons, any one occurrence. We give you a $2 million, $4 million limit not to have all the strange figures. And then we attach what we call the sovereign immunity. You'll see the asterisk there that says we will pay what sovereign immunity law dictates. Typically, when your General Assembly meets there in Congress, they attach about a 4% inflationary factor to those limits each year. That's why they change. So you'll notice the asterisk there that says we'll pay whatever those limits are. So typically, your general liability is going to respond to claims that arise out of bodily injury, property damage due to the daily operations of the city. So, for example, if your street department's out here and operates a backhoe and pulls around and damages persons or property, this coverage is going to provide the protection for you. It's zero deductible, so it's first dollar coverage for that. Keep in mind, too, that any defense costs that we spend in defending a claim, we pay those outside the limits of liability. It always then gives you the sovereign immunity limits to pay a claim, so we don't deduct those from it. So, for example, if the claim was filed and there was $100,000 of defense that we expended, we absorb those. We don't take that back out of that 200-some thousand to pay the claim in that regard. Your next page, this is a new coverage we've added this year, a little cyber liability coverage. Typically, a lot of insurance coverages are formed by what we see in the common world out here today. So just like your terrorism coverage wasn't an exclusion prior to 9/11, later we picked it back up the same way there wasn't any cyber liability until the advent of what happened here. So typically what this provides coverage for is just notification costs. So if the city were breached by a cyber attack and there was public information released, whether it was social security number, health information, stuff of that nature, your first responsibility is notification to those persons that may have been hacked in that regard. And then so you get a $100,000 limit for what we're providing there on it. So the maximum we pay in this situation is $100,000. Typically, you might have a situation where maybe you fired an employee, they had access to information to get back at you at revenge or something. They may sell that information or something, so this would be the policy to respond to a claim like that. Say it is a new coverage. The next page is law enforcement. Here again we rate on full-time and part-time law officers and your animal control. Last year you had 5 full-time, 3 part-time. This year you've got 6, 3, and 1. Typically anything that would arise out of your law, wrongful detention, false arrest, anything of that nature would be covered under your law policy. So it does have a deductible of $2,500. That only comes into play, we're going to charge you back as if we have to pay on your behalf. So here again, if we're going to absorb the defense cost on that, you were found that you were negligent or wanting, we would pay and then charge you the $2,500, we would pay any excess over it. The next one is employee benefit liability, because you do have a health plan here. Typically, you're charged with the fiduciary position of overseeing that, so if an error or omission were made in overseeing that, this would come into play. So for example, if you had a 60-day wait for a new employee to come on your health insurance plan, and actually 90 days expired and incurred some medical expenses, you would have been eligible. he could file those to the city. We would pay under this policy for that. So there again, it's acts or omissions by administrating a health plan or a retirement plan or something of that nature. The next page is public officials. Here again, we give you a $2 million, $4 million limit. It has a $1,000 deductible. And this is the one that provides coverage for a suit that might arise out of a decision you collectively make as a board. So we list some of those there. Here again, the deductibles not apply to defense costs. Most of these receive an injunctive relief where a decision is made and they haven't suffered any bodily injury or property damage, so the GL will not respond to that. So typically, this is going to provide the coverage for that. And here again, normally they just want that decision reversed because they haven't incurred any, say, monetary damages or anything of that nature. The bottom portion is your employment practices liability, the same $2 million, $4 million limit, same deductible. Here again, defense costs outside the limits. This is the one that's going to provide coverage for a claim that might arise out of wrongful termination, sexual harassment, failure to supervise, hiring, age, race discrimination, anything of that nature. So it's a comprehensive program on that. The next page is your automobile. Here again, we give you the $2 million limits. There's not an aggregate limit under the auto policy. So you have $2 million today to pay a claim. You get $2 million tomorrow. There's no cap to that per se. Medical payments is $5,000. You have comprehensive, $250 deductible, $500 collision. And then we list them on the next page of your schedule of vehicles, which one has liability, which one has full coverage. Typically, we start about the renewal process 60 to 90 days out, so we reviewed this with the chair. I think these are all up to date. Obviously, if there's any corrections, we can certainly do that by endorsement on this. The property section, there's actually no changes in that. There's a total insured value of $3,407,100, $1,000 deductible. Does have earthquake if it was checked. And then you'll see the next page is a schedule of property on that. So it's a specific by address, building and contents is listed in your schedule there. So not much change in that regard. Inland Marine is the next portion. This is where we cover your contractor's equipment. The reason we schedule that is because you want physical damage for that. The operations of that's covered under the general liability. So here again, we list the Inland Marine schedule. This is an actual cash value type coverage, so keep in mind we do take depreciation on this. So each year you want to review those values and make sure you're not paying insurance dollar on a value you won't realize at the time of loss. So what they'll do, they'll take the year to make the model, number of hours on it, type of condition. And that's what they're going to go on the internet and find lifetime and quality, and that's how they replace that with it. So it's kind of broken down by the parts of your contractor's equipment. We've got some miscellaneous. You got some there for your police department also. So in overview, like I said, the total package is only $242 this year. You do have to make a decision on the terrorism each year. It is a full $22, excuse me, $57. You chose to exclude it last year. But that's kind of a nutshell on that portion. Any questions on that? But I say there would have to be a vote on the terrorism on that. The other policy we have is for your fire department. And this is with Fire Pack. And the reason we break it out is it's a little more coverage than the Fire Pack program. Our agency happens to be the state director for this program. So there's some additional coverage that you get with this that's not afforded under normal property coverage form or liability. Here again, the front page is just kind of an overview of the premium. I think it changed roughly $577. The reason of that, fire pack basically written on a 3-year rate guarantee. If you're coming out of that old 3-year period, you'll be entering into a new 3-year period. So what we say when they give you a 3-year rate guarantee is that we won't change the rates during that 3-year period. However, your premium could change if you made obviously additions to the vehicles, or you added more portable equipment or something of that nature on it. Other than that, the rates are going to stay standard on that. So what we see under the fire pack program, the first page is your portable equipment. They did increase the deductible from $250 to $500 this year. That's standard we're seeing across the board. You notice it's guaranteed replacement cost, so this is the advantage you get it being in the fire pack program. So for example, if you had a radio or a firefighter turnout gear or a hose or something, it's totally destroyed, we're going to pay you what it's going to cost to replace it at today's market price. So there's no depreciation or anything in that regard. You see there's not a limit, so basically we rate per vehicle as to what we think the type of equipment would need to be afforded to equip that vehicle. Commandeered equipment, here again we give you a $1 million limit. So for example, if you're out there fighting a fire and you need to borrow, let's say someone's tractor to do a backfill to contain the fire, and that tractor is burned up, and it's a $250,000 tractor, there's no deductible, we will reimburse that commandeered piece of equipment that you chose to use on your behalf. Personal effects and property of others, we give you a limit of $100,000 there. And then rental reimbursement, the $15,000. The next page is the liability section. Here again, it's a $2 million, $4 million limit. There again, you'll fall under sovereignty in the state of Missouri. And it also comes with a management liability. So for example, if one of your firefighters is out here, fire was contained in a sofa, they pulled it out on the front porch, thought it was gone, left, and then the thing smoldered and burned the house down. So we're going to pay, obviously, to take care of that. It also comes to employment practice liability also in this program too. It also provides coverage for you doing some fundraising because your fire department may hold a chili stuff or a bake sale or something of that nature, so the liability, that's all money included. If you were to do something a little more risque than that, let's say hold a tractor pull, then they would want to know a little more detail on it, may charge you a one-time fee because of the exposure to that. But other than that, your sale of fire extinguishers, your rates, anything of that nature is covered on there. So the other portion too that you get under the auto policy here is basically what we call designated values. So you see that on the last page. So for example, your Freightliner there, you've got a designated value of $245,300. If you had it under the Savers policy, that would allow depreciation. Here again, since you designated that value, we can pay up to that value on loss. So there again, it affords you a little more coverage on it. So that's kind of the fire pack renewal. Let's be short. One more here. This is the accident policy for your fire department. Typically, while we write an accident for a volunteer fire department, it says there's a gap between the work comp and what they would pay a volunteer. So typically in the state of Missouri, since they're not paid, they take an average fire department is paid, take that wage, and then they're going to get about a $50 benefit for loss of time. So you couldn't go back to your normal work. So to fill in that gap, we write what we call an accident policy here through Providence. You've chosen the present plan. This is an accidental death and dismemberment of $25,000. And then the other portion that kind of comes to us here is the $500 weekly benefit. So you get this in addition to any work comp benefits paid. Your work comp is going to respond to the injury itself, and will pay you, say, the loss of time. That's about $50. So this fills that gap. I don't know if anyone can survive on a $50 benefit a week. So this would fill that. Typically for the volunteers, this is one of the few only policies in the state of Missouri that we're aware of that will pay a lifetime benefit to an injured volunteer in that regard. It also provides coverage while you're fighting a fire, if you were in a parade or a bus or anything, so long as it's approved as a firefighting activity, you're going to be covered under this program. This is a 2-year policy. You're entering into a 2-year policy on it also. And know that's a lot to throw at you, but this project does a good job. In the back, gives you a good explanation of the benefits. I'm not going to go through each one, but you can certainly read those. So it's a well-versed, well-rounded accident policy in that regard. So that's it. So I guess I would need a motion on the terrorism. If there's no questions.
Any discussion on the terrorism coverage that the city has chosen in past years not to include in their insurance coverage?
How much is it? $22?
57.
79. 79.
Is there any advantage to us to have that? There's another place where it's.
Like I say, so prior to 911, there wasn't an exclusion. Once that occurred, then there was an absolute exclusion on your insurance policy, just like there was for pollution. The government felt that was not good for the general public, so they agreed to come in and pay 85% of the loss. So it allowed the insurance companies to come in and pick up the other 15%. Typically, three things have to occur. The Secretary of State nationally has declared a terrorist act. More than 50 people lose their lives in common occurrence, and more than 50 million in property damage occurred. So unless all three of those are in line, it's not really a terrorist act. Typically, what we see is they like high notoriety, high property. So, you know, when they see the Boston Marathon explosion up there, you might see them attack, you know, the arch in St. Louis or the Golden Gate Bridge. You know, they want high volume, you know, bodily injury and property damage. So I'm not discouraging you. I'm just pointing out the fact I don't know that you have much exposure, but for no more than the cost, you may want.
We have several events that there's a lot of people there. There's like the tractor pull, the fair, and all that. There's hundreds of people.
Is the city worth $50 million?
Well, it doesn't
What kind of fish
That's one of the things that I heard
Let's say the terrorist attack occurred in late summer. Fallout came this way as part of it, so you could be included in the total 50 million. It doesn't have to be just the city's segment. So when you look at your $3 million total value, you know, maybe you got 47 million that could be dispersed elsewhere. But there, you know,
Is that total value figured on all property in the city or just?
well, it'd be not only, it'd be property damage by a terrorist act, but what I'm saying is, let's say there was a bomb in Lee Summit or Lone Jack or somewhere around this area that drifted this way, you could be, you know, more than 50 million total, so. Encourage it or discourage it, we're trying to point out.
Any other questions?
What I
I
hear,
said if that happened, we probably wouldn't care.
we don't be transferred up to
Would be right.
the. For what I gather, you don't think it's worth it.
I'm not recommending either one, I'm just saying some cities choose to take it, some choose not to, so that's why we offer it. So, we have some councils that say no more than what it is, they would be remiss if they did, and something occurred. We have others that says the possibility of that happening is very minute, so they're gonna take the chances on it, so it's.
What was it, 57? How much?
It's either 79 or 57. One place it says 57, one it says 79.
Well, 57 on the savers, and then 29 is on the fire pack, so total, yes, sir, total 79.
Oh, it's just to see where people think I moved that we accepted
With the terrorism?
with the terrorism.
Okay. Is that's a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion? Going once. Going twice.
I don't know, but that will not tell yourself.
Die for lack of a second. Now we need a motion for the insurance package,
Yes, sir.
excluding terrorism.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the proposal from Mike Keith Weavers? Motion by Councilman Weeks. Is there a second?
I'll second
Second by Councilman Webb. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, sir.
All these need your signature, sir, if you reject it, mark that box, and there's yours, take that.
Okay, next under petitions and communications would be Tracy Bratner, Johnson County Economic Development, for discussion and presentation of a draft analysis of elected conditions.
Well, thank you, Mayor, City Council. It's great to be here again. If you recall, we were here last month, I believe, or maybe the month before, to discuss the enhanced enterprise zone and the designation of that incentive tool for our county. Just to sort of refresh everybody's memory, I'm going to distribute the original presentation, and then we're going to turn quickly to the map. If I can get myself one here. And then whatever we have left over, I'll give to the press. Anybody else in the audience? Well, again, I'm Tracy Brantner. I'm the Economic Development Director for Johnson County Economic Development Corporation. I have with me today, I have Dee Hudson. Dee has been a longtime chair of our organization. She's not currently serving as president, but she's been certainly an integral part of our organization and making sure that we're doing good things for our communities and our county out there to create jobs and investment in our area. So thank you to Dee for that. And she may come up and have some words for you later. But basically, the Enhanced Enterprise Zone is an opportunity to create a zone. It's not a planning and zoning zone. It's only an incentive area. The state statute picked this crazy word with zone in it, and so it gets a lot of misunderstandings. It's not really anything related to planning and zoning whatsoever. So if you currently have planning and zoning, like the city of Fulton does, it doesn't create any additional zones or any other planning districts or anything like that, but it does provide the opportunity for all of the city of Holden, in this case, every area inside the city limits of Holden, to be eligible for an enhanced enterprise zone. And that incentive allows for businesses to make application once created in this zone, and if they want to expand their business in that zone, either by relocating to that area or by adding on to their facility in some way, shape, or form. If they create 2 new jobs and they make at least $100,000 in investment, then they get 50% of their new real estate taxes abated for up to 10 years. Now, a lot of those guidelines have yet to be written because the first process is to get through the blight analysis for each of the affected communities that are inside the proposed area. And so, if you want to turn to, help me out, buddy. Thanks. You want to turn to the map, and it's quite small, and I apologize. It's on page 5. The eligible Johnson County EEZ map. Thank you, sir. You can see that it's an area that includes Holden, the incorporated areas of Holden. It also includes Centerview, Leeton, and a little bit of Warrensburg. So those are the 4 communities that we have to do the blight analysis for. So we're in the process of, as you may have seen in the newspaper, we're out and about talking to our city council and our aldermen about this process. And so the next thing for the city of Holden is to look at their draft blight analysis. And I hope that you have a draft ordinance in your packet, hopefully. If you don't, I brought copies.
It's in the packet.
If you need extra.
We do not.
Oh, okay. All right, very good. I came from there. That's good. That never happened. all stamped draft, this is a draft. There you go. Okay. So, this ordinance, which we have, we've distributed to Colton and Centerview, and Wheaton has already actually looked at their analysis and passed the ordinance because they were kind of the first community we were able to get out and do the field work for. This process is very onerous. When we're looking at analysis for blight, we're actually looking at these areas that are in the front of this ordinance. And so we're looking for defective and inadequate street layout, unsanitary or unsafe conditions, deterioration of site improvements, improper subdivision or obsolete platting, excessive vacant land and buildings, and other conditions, kind of this general catch-all that endanger life or property by fire or other causes. And so JCDC, or me, is out doing these blight analysis, and I have experience with these, and so it just seemed easier for me to go ahead and do these by the state statute. Now, if you'll notice in the ordinance, the state is pretty specific about the use for this blight analysis. So it cannot be used for any other state statute purpose in Missouri other than just for the designation of an enhanced enterprise zone. So you can't use it for TIF, and you can't use it for, like redevelopment districts or anything like that, where you kind of have this blight and slum standards that you have to meet. Because this one is so different in the criteria that has to be analyzed, it's very specific to the enhanced enterprise zone process for the designation of that. So I will say also, just a word of caution, none of this process includes residential areas, other than maybe just the acknowledgement that we have a few vacant houses. But I am not out looking at residential property in any way, shape, or form, because this enhanced enterprise zone is going to be for commercial only activity. And so what we're looking for is areas of the community that are in need of redevelopment, but are zoned in a commercial fashion, because the kinds of businesses that either want to expand or want to locate here want to be good neighbors. They don't want to locate in a residential area. That's not the clients we have. So we want to make sure that everybody in the community is aware we're not looking at your houses, and we're not really looking at specific property other than, obviously, like I said, to identify maybe if it's vacant, or also to identify maybe obsolete platting activities, subdivision regs, that kind of thing. So that's the only time, sort of that broad brush of blight conditions that we're looking at. Okay. So what are we looking at, details-wise? We're looking at your street conditions, mainly public improvements. So street conditions, utilities, sidewalks. If there are accessible alleyways, we're looking at the ability of the fire department to get to structures, if there should be a structure fire. We're looking at traffic control mechanisms. Obviously, maybe you have maybe one. But any sorts of things that are malfunctioning in the traffic control area. And then also site improvements, and that's a big issue. So we're looking at the deterioration of investment. So when we have clients that come in, they want to make sure that we're reinvesting in our community as a community. Nobody's going to reinvest in our community unless we invest in our community. And so we're looking to document those activities that maybe where deferred maintenance has gotten to the point where it's become an eyesore or that kind of thing. So any questions on blight analysis before I move on? It's really exciting stuff.
It doesn't sound good.
All right.
What would be the disadvantage of just ignoring this?
I'm sorry.
It seems we're blighted, come move here.
Yeah, right.
That doesn't,
Feeling like, yeah. way, do they?
Yeah, it's not, we have to document blight as part of this process, and keep in mind that 133 areas of the state have done the same process. They documented blight because they had to in order to get the incentive tool.
What have they gained from that designation? Is there any proof that it's a good thing to do?
Absolutely. There is actually proof where, like I talked about in May, our prospect load level is, we usually get about 32 prospects a year that we're able to complete, RFPs for. And the first 10 always ask right out of the chute if you have an enhanced enterprise zone. So we're not even able to compete for those kinds of projects. So what we're asking for is our communities to get designated as an enhanced enterprise zone to allow us to compete, allow us to put our best foot forward. When we're able to tell our story, we can't compete. I mean, we can compete with anybody. So, but right now, we're not in the game. They surround us. Businesses look to go to Cass County, to Lafayette County, to Henry County. They will step over Johnson County to get to that incentive tool.
Because we don't have a blighted designation.
Because you don't have an enhanced enterprise zone. The blight is only the stepping stone to get to the enhanced enterprise zone. Is that make sense? Good question. I've already done all your field work. There are actually 2 questions I have left. The field work takes about 8 hours, and then it takes about 8 hours to write the report. So I'm about halfway done with the report, but I do have about 2 questions that I need to get clarification on, and I'll reach out to the city to do that. But I didn't want to hold up the process here, so why don't we take a quick look at what we're looking at in terms of the draft. So as you see, this analysis is quite onerous. There are anywhere from 10 to 15 pages of not only photographs and documentation of the analysis of blight, but I just copied the first 4 pages for you tonight because I didn't want to kill a bunch of trees and then we'll be back at the next month to kind of, if this is your wish, to kind of wrap things up, to approve the ordinance, to approve the analysis. And so in the meantime, I'd like to get the answers to those 2 questions that I have, and I'll reach out to Sharon or you, Mayor, to get that done. And then maybe I'll send it out to you guys electronically. You can take a look at it, provide feedback. Is that something that you'd be willing to do?
We would.
All right. So the first page identifies the conditions of blight and includes the areas that have already been identified by the State Department of Economic Development as being eligible in the map. What the State Department of Economic Development does is they identify that these areas are eligible at first blush, before the blight analysis is conducted, because they do have high unemployment, they have high poverty percentages that lend itself to blight. And so now you take your next step to get the blight analysis completed. So that's kind of what I cover under the first page, is talking about the state statutes that enable this in pretty extensive fashion as part of the report. In your case, because, for example, in the city of Warrensburg, they only have certain areas that are eligible, but in the case of Centerview, Wheaton, and Holden, the whole incorporated area is an eligible designation for enhanced enterprise zone. So we're actually doing field work for your whole community, and that's why it takes so long, and it's quite extensive to get this wrapped up. So I did do that on Saturday. I spent most of the day here. And I did get stopped by a police officer. That was awesome. I always call. I always stop in and say, you know, I'm doing field work. You see a red Impala, you know, with cameras, and I'm walking around. You'll know who it is. And so I always get the police department and sheriff's department warning before I do field work like this, because you can get calls, and I don't want anybody to be surprised by what we're doing. So I also then finished up last night. Actually on Monday, July 13th, and so I compiled all of those photographs and documentation and notes, and so I'll finish up with the report. But basically, we're looking at the study boundaries, and in your case, we have to document the street areas that are as close to the city limits as possible, and we have a map that shows that, all the streets I drove, all the photos I took in those areas, and then we're sort of setting the contextual characteristics of the community. You know, how far are you from major trade centers? You know, that kind of thing. Significant flood hazard areas. And we'll look at that pretty extensively in your case, and then also just some history of the community. And then we start in on the specific light conditions that are set in the state statute. And we go through them one by one. Yeah.
Right there, the proposed ordinance that you forwarded to me showed a finding of every one of those conditions checked off.
Right.
That anticipated, or there's possibility when the council sees this next month, that some of them will be tracked. Or
Yeah, I actually distributed the ordinance tonight that shows the boxes unchecked. It was probably just because I was in a hurry and I didn't. You
So
shouldn't
you
check
don't-
those boxes
you don't
until
forget to
right,
finish it.
right, yeah. And I just wanted to get something to you so that you could
Great.
check
No,
the
I
boxes.
appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing I would tell the council is that this is an overlay zone as a result of not being planning and zoning zone. You can authorize it by resolution. It doesn't have to go through planning and zoning or planning or zoning.
Any other questions of me?
Are you planning on being on the agenda for next month? I see you have it mentioned in your.
Yeah, I do have a request at your pleasure to be on the agenda in August, and because by then you should have a chance to review it electronically or in some other fashion, and then provide any feedback to me, and then we'll get the final drafts here at the meeting in August, and along with the final ordinance, you know, whatever that box is that needs checked in there after the analysis.
Any other questions, Ms. Brandon?
Let me say something.
Thank you.
As a former council member, I can relate to what we are asking you to do. And that's to ultimately vote on whether or not we will have an enhanced enterprise zone. Two words raise a red flag. One is zone and one is blight. Again, as Tracy said, this zone is an area. It doesn't have anything to do with planning and zoning. It's an area. And blight, I like to think in terms of underdeveloped. We're talking about jobs. We're talking about industry finding Holden an attractive place to do business. And it works for businesses that are already here, and it works for new business and industry that may come. We've worked so hard on the certified site. Let's overlay that with an enterprise zone. Because what it says to new business and industry is that you have a place ready for us to do business. Tracy just alluded to the fact that Lafayette, Cass, Henry, Pettis, they all have enterprise zones. And it's attractive to new business because it gives them the incentive to locate in your area. The next thing that usually raises a red flag is something about tax abatement. Those details are yet to be worked out, and we will have input into that. But it talks about jobs. Johnson County is sitting without an enhanced enterprise zone. We are applying to the state to get one in Johnson County. We need an enhanced enterprise zone in order to put it on the shelf as something that we have to work with when we go out to attract business and industry. And when they say, we won't come if you don't have one, it says something to us. So that's the advantage of having one. Don't close the door to any business and industry that might want to locate in Johnson County. You always have the opportunity to turn them down. You know, why would we? But we always have that opportunity. This does not say you have to take anything that comes. It gives us a chance to give anyone, business and industry, that is asking for an enterprise zone. So you're going to be asked to vote on this. I can relate to that. I empathize with you. Don't get scared by zone and blight. Blight means that we're underdeveloped. Let's create this enterprise zone so that we have the same opportunity that others have to gain business and industry in our county.
Thank you, Dave. Any other questions before we are? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, continuing on the agenda, public comments. Do we have anyone that would like to address the council? Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, Ron Barrett, and I work almost all the buildings downtown in the Jerusalem project. And directly to you, where does that $100,000 come from?
The investment,
Mm-hmm.
it comes from the private business,
What business? Give me a business.
the business that makes application to be in the
They
zone.
have to come up with $100,000?
That's the investment minimum by state statute.
Wow,
Yeah.
not gonna happen. I mean, I deal with all these businesses. Business today is strapped.
We may have new businesses that want to come.
Anyone else? Okay, Holden Chamber Conference update. Anyone from the chamber? Seeing
I'd
none.
like to mention one thing, that there's several things that the chamber is working on as usual. And one of the things that's coming down the pipe pretty fast is the fall fair, so
Okay,
I want to keep that in.
last weekend in August, right?
Yeah.
Main Street. No, Main Street. Council reports. Okay, they had a tractor pull committee meeting for the September 19th tractor pull that's coming up. Thought we'd give council members Clarkin, Weeks, and Bradley an opportunity just to kind of bring the council up to speed.
Well, we continue with our efforts to raise funds for sponsorships. Councilman Weeks and I know have turned in some, and we're still working on getting some more in. And
Last count on sponsorships was 3,600. So I think we're well on the way to getting to the goal that we had set.
Is that pledged or monies?
no, we've got the cash in.
Cash in hand, cash in bank. Good. Yes. With many, what's the word? People, prospective sponsorships.
Yeah, we have a bunch of people that pledged and haven't paid yet.
Right.
Without counting those.
They don't want to turn loose that money too soon, which I understand.
Well, do you have anything?
No, I was out beating the doors down today again. I got a couple checks today, so I got more money in hand. I got told by a couple businesses, one just, they didn't have the funds to renew, the other one just plain doesn't support it. the first one I lost. With that, everything's going pretty smoothly. Mr. Travis?
I don't have anything.
Any sponsorships forthcoming, any communications?
I've been so busy with work that I have not had time to do anything yet. And something else I'd like to talk about too is one reason why I wasn't at the tractor pull meeting, because the email that you sent me asking why I was not there, there was a couple sunshine law violations that occurred at that meeting.
Well, that's out of order. We're having a report on the committee now. We can deal with sunshine law later if it's on the agenda.
Well, it has to do with the committee.
Well, it's, you're on the agenda later for a sunshine law
Okay.
report. Are you more interested in the sunshine law or the tractor pull?
Well, I'm more interested in making sure that the city continues to move forward in the way that it needs to.
Well, right now, we're expressing concern that the tractor pull be successful, so we're all working hard to make that possible. Okay, if nothing else on the tractor pull, we have the council delegation report on property land exchange. We requested that Councilman Nipko and Rayburn visit with the property owner and come back and share with the council.
I'm ready to share information I have. You find out some odd things, I guess, when you start delving into who owns what. But I think it's finally settled, so a couple of those here. If you'll notice that on that sheet,
Has the writing on it.
okay. The portion that's in yellow is what is owned by Gilbert. And according to Western Reserve Title, the city of Holden, and I have a copy of the warranty deeds going back to 1950 for lots, what are those four lots? 34, 35, 36, and 37, I think, or 33, whatever that is. And on the first lot, we have a warranty deed going back to 1950. So Holden owns everything from the center line of that right-of-way south on that first, on lot 34 and 35. So that belongs to City of Holden. Everything is in yellow. The yellow is what Gilbert owns. And it looks like that I checked with the courthouse, and for some reason they didn't have the right information on that.
So it wasn't recorded when it was
Well, someplace,
purchased.
I have a feeling that might be what happened. I was talking with the sheriff this afternoon. That could very well be what happened. But what I have is the east end of lot 34 was owned by R.A. and Helen Macklin. And I have a copy of a warranty deed that they sold at the city in 1950. Also, the remainder of lot 34, 35, 36, and 37 was sold to the city by Mrs. Martha Galbert. And I'm pretty sure she's a widow of a guy that only had one arm that had a sawmill back on that. I remember. And anyway, yeah, he's one arm sawmill operator. And then I think Mr. Christian had the sawmill after him. I don't remember. But according to them, the only thing that Gilbert owns is what's in yellow. And it looks like where the problem was, if you notice, McKissick, which really is First Street, but McKissick came across, and probably maybe before the Civil War, it would have came into Main Street. Well, that's been shut off, and Gilbert doesn't own. You see, there's a triangle down there of his property that he doesn't own, and he was. I don't know where all the mix-up came from, but the wrong information was at the.
And is that the grassy area or that's part of the building?
No, the building is right in here. see. And the grassy area is this part right up here.
Okay.
And see, most of that, a lot of that is an extension of the Kissimmee. So,
He's got a building set.
yeah, probably down the line, I don't know what Gilbert will want to do. He said it was kind of relief for him to know that what he finally owed. And he's been paying taxes on 24, on 34 and 35 for quite a few years. It wasn't even his property. So, I don't even know how you unscramble something like this, but probably, I would imagine that down the line someplace, that you see that triangle that's up above, the yellow spot, there's a piece of land that I guess it's owned by the city, that probably, if I was Gilbert, I'd be asking for a quick claim deed to that. It's not worth anything to anybody except, and I don't know what he's going to do, but he said it was a relief to him
That
to
building's
find
been
out
there
what he
for a
owes.
long time then.
That building's been
And it was
there.
old then.
His building, sir? His building?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that building, I think the building is probably in the yellow area. I think that triangle back there may be,
Jim would know.
well, no, Jim didn't know.
I don't think.
Everybody else?
If I see somebody else's name listed on there, I wonder if the bank ever.
Well,
The issue is that part of the building?
No, I don't think the building's set, I think that's a corner beyond the building.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where
Is it building rectangular or triangle?
It's
that thing. Anyway, going on, I've got a warranty deed here.
wide paper.
That when you bought it from Jones, and you bought it from the right-of-way north. You didn't own that 30 feet from the center line to the edge of the right-of-way. But that's been quick claimed over to Gilbert from Jones's, so there was 30 feet there you never owned. But I've got a copy of the warranty deed that was when Jim bought it from the Joneses, and the reason I had that, Western Title assured me that Gilbert's warranty deed would be worded exactly like this. And that's the reason I have that. So if this is of any value, if this is of any value
For the problem, I mean, this is,
Isn't there something about it? The building
was adverse possession could be mistaken.
has been there for years and years and years.
But I think is what the problem is, that the Kissick, see, came across here, and probably ended up over here on Main Street, before you was the Third Circuit Railroad, but it was before the Civil War. And they cut it off, and the whole thing had to do with the right of way. But the next time I go to Warrensburg, I want to make sure the courthouse has the right information on it.
Yeah, what we were presented last month, obviously, was.
Well, it was wrong information for us. As soon as I showed them these warning deeds, I got, they said, well, apparently there was some information they didn't have.
So, it's a designated fact then that the city owns 34, 35.
Everything from the center line south. Gilbert owns everything from the center line north on 34 and 35.
Who's been using the southern part?
Oh, we have.
Gilbert's been paying taxes all we've been here.
Understand, we would.
And then there's some people prior to him.
Since 1950, it's been our property since 1950, because we have a copy of the warning.
Are you an owner in this now?
No.
What might shed some light on that is there was a railroad that ran down the ditch where the ditch is in front of the meat shop. Not too far out from there was a railroad.
Yeah, there was the railroad right of way is where this red line is. That railroad right of way is 60 feet wide. And there was 30 feet on this side and 30 feet on this side. Now our warranty deed reads from the right of way south. And I said, wait a minute. It should read from the center right of way. And he said, well, it doesn't make any difference. We own for the center line. That's what Western Title does. In the meantime, Jim bought this, Jones's, and But he only, and his deed stated from the property, or from the right of way north. Well, so it's on that 30 feet. And they since then have quick claimed that over to Gilbert. So Gilbert owns everything that's in the yellow.
So what does Gilbert want?
Well, I don't know, he said it was a relief to him to find out what he owned. I mean, he hasn't been, he hasn't had any problem with it, but he said, in the meantime, he said, I'm trying to sell a piece of property. He was told that he owned this at one time, so he owned this. Well, he doesn't. And the people he dealt with told him that, well, it's like your yard. Do you know whether do you know where your yard borderline is? You probably do, but I don't know where mine is.
I'm trying to figure out, so you think they would like that, and City Holden currently owns it? Is that
Well,
what
this
you're
is an
saying?
extension of McKissick, right? See, McKissick at one time came all the way out. That was probably before the Civil War and that was before the railroad.
Only Mr. Timmerman would know about that.
He probably will. If he did, he's the first one that knows about it. But you see, this right here was Old McKissick Street, which is really First Street, but it's the name McKissick. And it came out, in the meantime, this building was built here. And they thought they owned this grassy strip in here. They were told they owned this.
Would they like that from the city? Is there something you want to exchange for it, or
What is there to exchange? What is there to exchange?
It's ours.
I don't know, sir, I thought that's what I was coming down
But
to talk
the
about.
only thing I would think that he would want would maybe be this triangle shape in here, which is of no value to us.
Okay.
And sometime down the line, he might ask for a quick, I had no idea, he didn't. He was going to talk to his bank, he was going to talk to his banker and some other people.
Or unless he's got it by adverse possession, and that's hard to do against the city, so I'll go say no public meeting, and that's, we can sure look at it, sir.
It's a screw up.
Yes, sir.
Probably going back to somebody didn't have something recorded. Or maybe just, I don't know.
Thanks for your hard work in finding out these interesting facts,
Well,
sir.
the important part of the whole conversation is the parking lot is the city.
According to them, the parking lot south of the center line of that right of way is ours. And where that red line is where the center line of the right
You're
of way.
going to get us the deeds that show that, and are we using it as a parking lot?
Yeah, this is the morning deed that we bought
So
it.
we don't have a problem right
No, we don't have a problem.
now. That's what we do.
It's all the morning.
That makes sense. We don't have a problem. Well, I asked Midwest Time Lot, so he's paid tax on that for a lot of years. He probably should ask for it back, and he said, try to get that out of the county. It was a good time trying to get it out of the county. But somebody made a mistake, and it was never followed up on, but the courthouse has the wrong,
Which taxes then?
the courthouse has the wrong information. And they probably never had the right information, so I don't know whose fault it would be. Hard to ascertain the fault at this point. But according to them, we own the parking lot south. Everything south is fair.
Keep using
Right. Okay. Any other comments on the parking lot situation from the council? Okay.
I thank Mr. Rager for
Yeah.
doing a lot of that.
Thank you.
He and I worked together initially, and
You know, it's kind of interesting once we got into it.
Okay, next item under council reports. Councilmember McDaniel requested discussion on the four items listed on the agenda. Hours and telephone of City Hall to the front door of City Hall, informing citizens of the hours of operation. Hours of City Hall posted to city website. Minutes from all city council meetings and BTW meetings to be posted to the city website in a timely manner for citizens of Holden to view. And question on the finance committee. So I guess we'll start with number one, and to save discussion and share information that has been done. So it's on the front door and the front window of City Hall. Item 2, hours of City Hall posted to city website. That has not been done.
Can it be done though? Is it a problem to do that?
Well, we're between techs right now on updating our website, but I think that could be accomplished as soon as we get someone to fill that position, which hopefully is soon, because we need them. Okay. Item number 3, minutes from all city council meetings and BPW meetings to be posted to the city website in a timely manner for citizens of Holden to view. My first question on that request was, why is the city responsible for BPW minutes to a city website?
They have a page on there, and they have a meeting, and it seems like a lot of people are interested in what's going on with BPW.
Well, I would look at that they have their own secretary, therefore they can post their own minutes. And really, they're not minutes. When the Board of Public Works meets,
They're unapproved, correct?
well, and those minutes aren't taken by the Secretary of the Board of Public Works, they're taken by a paid employee of O&M Enterprises. And really, those are then turned over to the newspaper, so it's more as a press release, not minutes. So I would think the city would stay away from taking a press release called minutes to post on the city website.
Well, they approve them as minutes in their meetings.
That's not in my, I'm not going to make that determination.
Okay, so compromise, you don't want to do BPW minutes. What about the city council minutes?
I would suggest that the city post their minutes to the city Facebook site. Sharon can do that tomorrow, or as soon as they're ready. So the Facebook site, the City of Holden Facebook site, we could put those on there. They'd be accessible to whoever wanted to look at them.
Well,
And we would put unapproved minutes at the top. However, we have a little legal issue with unapproved minutes. I might let Mr.
As a matter of policy, you mean as a council you can decide. Most councils wait until they've approved their minutes before they publish them. And you made an amendment tonight, so to give an example of what could occur if there was a correction. So you have the discretion if you want to post them as unapproved to do it. If you think the majority you feel you're thinking you're doing a public service with that, putting that then. Otherwise, many councils wait till that next meeting when they approve those minutes, and then they go post them and make them to the public, because then they are the official public record.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I would make a motion that we post to the city's official website and Facebook the city's approved minutes of their regular meetings and their special meetings and any other meeting that falls under the guidelines of like tractor pull committee meeting, those type of meetings.
All committees of the city?
All committees. Committees, I'm gonna ask Mr. Willard what his opinion of committees are, because I have the ordinance in front of me. And committees, according to our ordinances on our city's webpage, are required. Committees are required by ordinance. There are certain committees that you have to have because it has an ordinance tied to it. And so, because that is a function of the city, I thought the minutes should be on the city's website.
Questions, they certainly can be, there are certain committees in the city.
I have a question. We had a street committee meeting the other day. Street superintendent with 2 of the councilmen there. Do we have to have minutes for that meeting?
Have to have minutes, whether are they taking official action or making recommendations?
No.
Just information.
I'm sorry, sir.
It was information.
That is discretion, there's no official action taken.
So there's no sunshine law violation?
I think the sunshine law would come in if you discuss something to be brought up for a vote in this council, then you go for sunshine law.
No, that's a recommendation. If they take an official action for a recommendation to this council.
But that would be,
That's legal.
Yeah.
to have a recommendation.
It's not to bring it up and vote in the city council. And then, no, where the sun's up, well, I read it right.
Is that correct?
I'm not sure you understood what that is.
Well, you can discuss anything you want to, but unless it's an approved meeting, you can't discuss anything that you bring up later to vote on in this council.
I assume you held a meeting of the committee that was notified public that they held a meeting with the core committee. If that's where you took official action. If you didn't, if it was less than a formal committee, it might have been an informal discussion, it might not have been a meeting.
There was two council.
Yeah. Committee.
Two council and superintendent.
That's usually called a committee.
That is, it's like the tractor pull, there's,
So then it's just a question of, was that an official meeting to take action, to recommend stuff to the council, then we should have got minutes and then the action.
so who takes those minutes at all these
Someone on the
meetings?
committee.
Someone on the committee.
So the notes can be taken, or say your meetings, or your minutes can be taken basically as notes. Footnotes, like our tractor pull committee. I know the mayor takes footnotes, I take a few footnotes here and there, so will that constitute as minutes?
Include the recommendation and the vote on it, you know.
Well, they don't vote on that.
If you don't have a discussion, then the minutes can say discussion of, blah, blah, if you're keeping those, go ahead.
But the only thing that has to be in the minutes is an action. You don't have to put any discussion in there on a regular meeting. I mean, right now,
do it.
just like a council meeting or any official meeting, the only thing that has to be in the minutes is an action. And that's a vote, or it doesn't have to be, unless you want to put it in there, anything in there about any conversation to go over. So that is an action, unless there's an action on
Well, I guess if you want to research this more and get back to us, or if you think it's cut and dry with what you're saying,
Well, I'm not sure what I did, what was I unclear about?
It's.
well, I was wanting to post minutes to anything that pertains to the city's committees, council.
I said if they keep minutes for a meeting in which they made recommendations that votes, they had a form of their committee
So,
there, yes. there's
if
some
they have a
official
meeting,
minutes, it's your
yeah.
policy.
But no quorum, no minutes.
It's not an official meeting, there's not a form, you didn't post it, you didn't have a form of people there. And there's no legal action, that you don't come with a formal recommendation.
Well, two people pretty hard time having this legal action.
Is there 3 people on the committee? 2 of them?
Two.
And
And
2,
street.
then that's a committee meeting.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that means there has to be an agenda, it has to be posted, has to have a time and a place, and there is a motion made during the meeting, you call the meeting to order and you adjourn, that's something happened during the meeting, other than discussion, right?
Yes, sir.
For 50 years, the city has operated with informal committees to officially run the city. We had a street committee of 2 people that met with the city's street superintendent. They had a discussion. No recommendation came from that committee. So, we're trying to make this confusing and convoluted because no actions were taken. There was nothing to report to the public. Therefore, our
Well,
notes-
there's information that was gleaned from the street commissioner that,
for whose benefit?
well, the public, was I was gonna report what we talked about in there in this
Okay,
short.
but no vote to get that. It was just a conversation that was held at a meeting. So are we required to report to the public when it's done at the council meeting?
Well, most of our committees, we report at a council anyways, like street, fire, police, water, we all come to the council meeting the first Tuesday of each month and report what happens. So
So it's nothing's violating the sunshine law, it's put out to the public at a public council meeting.
I don't understand.
I don't understand it either. We're trying to make something that's been so simple for 50 years complicated.
You're saying two does constitute a committee, and we have an ordinance that says if you have a committee, then it's an action of the council. We have an ordinance for that.
If you approve the council committee, you have a quorum for a meeting for taking action. First, you should post a meeting, and if there are actions taken or a report that's important that you think you have, the discussion will be discretionary whether or not you're going to publish that. The actions need to come in order.
Well, then my motion would be just for the time being, the city council meetings be posted to the city's Facebook page. And if we get the new IT person, we get more control over the official city's website, we can post it to that website also. Unofficial minutes, official minutes after they're approved.
Are we going to do the unofficial and official?
No, he said,
No, he
Yeah.
said
Approved. Approved.
approved.
Yeah.
and that's the extended motion. Good.
If you don't have a quorum, are you required to, I mean, you might be talking about something that's gonna be voted on in council. In a meeting, what's,
Shouldn't we think of Mr. McDaniel's motion first?
oh, excuse me,
Second that motion.
second.
We have a motion.
We have a motion. We need the motion right back. Do you understand it? Do you
To
understand?
post the minutes, the official minutes, to the city's website when we have a new website and Facebook, right?
Okay.
Just the minutes
Everyone understand the motion?
Of the city's
of the
meetings.
city council.
You could put
Or-
special meetings in there, or the city council, but you can't
City
put
council
closed.
meetings and special council meetings.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Councilman, with the question. Is there a question with me on that?
Well, I just can't quite understand. From what I thought was if you had a quorum, that's when it started getting to the point that it was sunshine law.
Yes, sir. So he said,
Less than a quorum,
of the committee, or of this council, which quorum?
of the council.
For the minute, on the motion we're on now, it would only be meetings that had a quorum of all the council and the minutes taken. Yes, sir.
Yes. What about a committee?
That's different. The quorum of the committee is much less. There's 3 people, 2 makes the quorum. So if you have official action taken, if you want to now start policy,
How can you have
minutes.
an official action taken?
It's not official action.
Fee to take into consideration all reports, resolutions, propositions relating to the physical affairs of the city that may be referred to them by the council, and a report thereon to the council when required to hold a monthly examination of books, accounts, settlements of various city officials who are required to make monthly settlements of their accounts and report to the council any official who fails to make monthly payments into the treasury of all monies belonging to the city which he may have received. So, I requested that information about the park board. Well, we haven't had a park board committee report back to the city, and I'm guessing it hasn't happened for a couple of years. Well, there's an ordinance for the park board also. Well, so I don't feel like I should
Because
be,
you can't get those people on the park board to meet.
right.
So who are you gonna get to do that? So that, therefore, they just let the city do books for the park board, because nobody ever wanted the responsibility of that.
Right.
Yes, it is an ordinance, but we could never get anybody to be the treasurer, or it's hard enough to get a chairman.
Right. So I feel like as being the chairman for the council on the park board, I'm just the liaison between the park board and the council, the citizens board, the park board. It's there.
We had to get that for
It's theirs.
the park grant we got. They had to change that whole ordinance, and they had to have 9 members for a park board. They had to make those ordinances for that grant, and it does say
try to make it fit what we're doing, or do away with the ordinance, like you say. I mean, another thing I was researching for the park board, which this kind of falls under the finance committee. I can wait if you want, but.
Well, let's deal with
But
the
you are the
finance
finance committee.
committee. The council is the finance committee. From the minutes of the city of Holden, April 14, 1986,
When the ordinance vote was recodified in 1985.
page 3, under finances, all council. So when we meet monthly, you're getting a copy of the bills, you're getting a financial statement or report. The finance committee meets when we are all assembled.
We don't get a copy of the bills.
But this says,
But you can come in.
But they're open to the public, they're open to the council,
You can come in any
during
day.
normal office
We'll give you a
hours.
copy of the
There's
bills.
something in there about having a meeting on Thursday and going over individually.
You can do that.
You can come in on Thursday, you come in on Monday, you come in anytime and look at any bill individually or collectively.
No problem.
Yeah,
Or you can
those books,
do it.
Or you can make a committee.
One of the,
So then,
So the practice has been different. The practice.
I think it's a little strange the way it works though, because one of the fundamentals in the county is the people who write the checks shouldn't reconcile.
Or, well, you can hire somebody to do that.
Well, I mean, that's fundamental.
We used to have an auditor to do that every month, but just to save the money for the
Well,
city.
that's where I think the council can come in, and have some people come in and go over them individually.
and we would welcome that. Any councilman can come in and look at the bills,
I think this
the
ordinance.
financial statements, anything.
Said that'll happen in a meeting Thursday before the meeting.
And you can come in there.
You can come in on
You
Thursday.
have a meeting.
but if the ordinance says that you will have a committee meet Thursday before a council meeting.
Well, that's been 20 years not happening, so I was on the council for 2 years, it never happened. I've been mayor and I've
It's never
continued
happened.
tradition. It's never happened, according to Sharon, who's been here many years.
That's why I wanted to bring it up and talk about it. I don't know.
Oh, it's a good question. I'm glad we can clarify it in open session.
I think it's a good idea myself.
Yeah, I like the idea of having this, because I cannot make it to City Hall during the normal business hours. That's kind of a sticking point with
Well, how are you gonna
me.
get here on Thursday?
Huh?
Can you get here on Thursday?
Not by 4 o'clock.
Maybe the council would like to designate 2 people to come in and look at all of the bills prior to a council meeting.
I would say any council member that wants to come in should get to come in.
Here,
No, but I can't be here during the office hours of City Hall.
well, maybe we can appoint everyone else that
Does
can
everybody
be.
have to accommodate you?
No, but I think it's a little strange that our city government doesn't stay open later than 4 o'clock. That's, I would think 5 or 5:30.
Well, that's another thing. We used to be open till 5, and there was a council before you that wanted to close at 4 to save the city some money. So
Is that a motion to stay open
we
till
can stay
5?
open till 5.
No, I just be in favor of having the committee, and that way we can meet before.
Yeah, have a formal
And then
meeting
if
on
there's something that
Thursday.
comes up, we can talk about it.
I got one I want to put out. I made a request for financial workers for DPW. I think last week. I did not get what my tax money was sent to me. And I got a late email saying it was impossible to get those to me. So therefore, if this falls in, that should fall in with DPW, so I should get my financial report the Thursday before the meeting. Because it falls under the same
They don't
rules.
have that in their ordinances.
They're the city.
They're the city.
But they
They're part of the city. They're
check,
in one of these.
you check with the board, you check with the board to have your meetings.
No, I was told, and I have an email, and it was sent to the Attorney General's office, too. That is check the day of the meeting.
Yes.
Before the meeting. They sit down and they go through every invoice and they match every invoice to every check and every check.
I cannot,
We do that
because
here.
the
We
meeting
do
starts
that
at
here.
7, so I was told I couldn't get it till 7 o'clock when I show up in the meeting. We can call the Attorney General's office and get a copy of that email. That's what was said to me by the superintendent of water. So if it's being done, you ask for financial records of the bills. They don't get approved until the moment of the meeting, the same as we do here. When we come in here, we get these packets, we get our packets Friday. So we got all weekend to go through these bills that we have sitting here before us. And then we vote on them. It's been like this since I go to I go to BPW, I get there the day of the meeting, that's when I get my copies of the financial records, and it gets passed that day. I have a weekend here, I have less than half an hour of it. So if we're going to do a finance committee for this, it should go for all the city business.
Right.
Well, it seems
They're
fair.
part of the city, yes.
Well,
Do you have a problem with that? Do I have a comment to that? No.
Yeah, I've got a problem with that. We are set up to operate independently, as the mayor so graciously denied us the ability to post our minutes to our approved minutes. We do have approved minutes to the city website or the city Facebook page. Yeah, we do not allow the check writers, the check signers to,
Reconcile.
you guys, you allow the people who sign your checks
I wouldn't want to do it.
to check, to make sure that everything's being spent properly. You are trying to divert the attention from
I'm
the
trying to make it-
practices of the city council.
I'm trying to make it
The three
fair across the
people who
board.
sign the checks are the people who oversee the signing of the checks. You guys have never seen the bills. You guys don't get the.
But they're
invoices.
open
They
to
can come
the
in here and
public.
look at it anytime they want to. We're not hiding.
You're not even following the ordinance, the written ordinance.
Yes, we are.
The first thing you do is try to attack the water department.
Well,
No,
okay.
That's the honest and
I order, please.
He talked to me.
Order, please. The bills are sent out in the packets on Friday. Every councilman has a chance to look at those bills, and if they question any or all, can come in on Monday or Tuesday and review them. Nothing's hidden, nothing's a secret. It just so happens that none of the council have operated in the manner that they come in and do that.
Or
Now,
according to the
this
ordinance.
conversation is over, because it does not pertain to the topic at hand. So, you know, we're trying to make big deals here because we're not in agreement. We don't want to be in agreement. You know, if we want to make a big deal about an ordinance, I have traditionally carried on the practices of this city, and I'm not ashamed of it. I was here as 2 years as council, a year and a half as mayor. Nothing has changed when I was a councilman. I'm operating in the same manner that the prior council, to me being elected, operated under. So to bring up an ordinance that hasn't been followed for 20+ years at this time is not a bad idea, but come with a motion to change the ordinance, not a critique to point out fallacies that we may have.
Trying to find something we've done wrong.
Right. I do not appreciate being told we've been doing something wrong.
I'm just reading the ordinance as it reads.
And you have that right.
Point taken. I'm trying to find out the facts before I have a park board meeting. I have issues like another ordinance says the park board member can only serve 9 years. After
right.
9 years, they have to be taken off.
That's right.
So I don't know what park board members, how many years they've been on there. You sent
Did you
me
get a park board, oh, you want to know how long they've been on?
Yeah, you sent me a list of when they go off the board, but I have no idea how long they've been on there. I don't know. I'm just trying to do my due diligence.
Because we can't
as-
find people to go on the board, so it's that way with all the boards.
Yeah,
Small community.
yes. So I guess
And
my
I think we should have a committee.
My finishing thoughts would be that we do try to have this finance committee, if possible, and just see how it goes.
Yeah.
It is an ordinance. Now, if the council wants to make an ordinance to do away with the finance committee, make a motion.
I think years past, from what I've been told, 2 council members came in every Thursday, looked at the bills. That was their assigned duty. And I have no problem with that.
And they initial
Well, I think that would be a good idea, and then if anybody else from council besides those 2 people want to come in too,
Right.
Great.
I don't
That's the
see
way it
any
worked
problem.
then.
I think that would be a
It
good
worked
idea.
then, let's just schedule it.
Why don't you make a motion to appoint 2 people to do it?
Well, why don't we just make a motion to have a finance committee meeting on the Thursday prior to the regular council meeting?
To be selected as president of the city council.
Just the finance committee.
Well, he said the whole council's finance committee. Well, whoever wants to come, 2 or more.
But it won't do me any good if we don't have it after 5:30.
You're gonna put all that in, I guess you can't.
Well, I don't know, that's what Mr. Mayor said.
That's how we would work. I thought you just had a suggestion that 2 people come in and review them.
That worked for several years, many years ago. Okay.
Anybody else wants to?
And anybody else that wants to.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
They can come to any committee meeting,
Any
whether
day.
they're on it or not.
Do you want to make a motion?
No, I don't want to make a motion, but as you, being our legal counsel, what's your take on ordinances? Well, I mean, if we're not going to follow them, we just take them off the books, or, I don't know. I take it seriously.
I take it seriously. I thought you made a good suggestion, and I thought you should make a motion to appoint some people to the committee. If you're the people who are going to review bills.
Well, that's the mayor's job, to appoint them, and the council approves them.
I'll make a motion that we have a finance committee meeting on the Thursday prior to the monthly council meeting, and the mayor appoints 2 people on that committee, and anybody, councilman wants to come, can come as well.
I second that motion.
Second.
Frager? Frager? Jim?
John, Chris made the motion, Daniel seconded that.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint the committee, finance committee, to review the bills Thursday prior to the city council meeting.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock at night?
Yeah. Well, when do you like to have?
Office hours are
Office
8 to
hours.
4.
We're not around office hours.
Well,
Okay, somebody can then?
so now it's going to cost the city overtime for people to come in and review the bills during the council committee meeting. Special meeting.
I think it's prudent, a non-paid meeting. Maybe you get paid, but we don't.
I don't do it because I'm a salary.
Right.
So I guess I have to be here.
I wouldn't have any problem giving you a stipend to come in and have the bills paid to us. I just think as a councilman, it's our responsibility to look at the bills individually and sign off on them. And what we've been getting, and I'm not suggesting anything at all, it's just prudent in accounting that the people, different people check and reconcile the checkbook than the people that are writing the checks. I don't know who's writing the checks, I don't know who's reconciling the checkbook, but we're the people that are supposed to be able to, I think they'll wait.
And you have that right, you have that right currently to look at any bill at any time. It's an informal way, but it is a work.
I think we have, but this way it'd be organized, where we would have all the bills laid out, all the invoices. And we can do it. It wouldn't take that much time. And I'd be willing, I don't know if I would come to meetings whenever I was, I don't want to pay for it. Not,
I don't give you.
whether it's daytime or
We make
a lot
words
of time.
unpaid deal. You know, they're always hearing.
Also, if they don't want to do them before, review them in the meeting itself, and get it back to her.
But who's going to take minutes?
They are, they're having part of the meeting.
Okay.
So it won't work to have an informal process where all council are invited at their convenience to come in on Thursday or Friday and review the bills.
I think we need a specific time.
Okay, Thursday at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock?
People are working.
Well, that's what we hire these people to do, is work. Now we're asking to do more work.
Well,
You know, you hire people that are honest, intelligent, trustworthy. We've gone through audits year after year, no problems. What is the problem now? What is our problem? Why are we at a point that we're questioning?
I don't think that the check, in fact, if I was in your position, I'd want somebody to check.
It makes no difference to me.
And I think a formal, I don't see anything wrong
I'm
with it.
not saying they can't check.
I
Right.
think it's all in business.
That's why I have committee meeting on the second Thursday at 7 o'clock, and that's the motion. Thursday before the meeting.
Okay, we have a motion for the committee to meet Thursday prior to the council, 7 p.m. to review the bills. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Bradley,
Yes.
Nipko,
Yeah.
Thomas.
Yes.
Weeks,
No.
McDaniel,
yes.
Raver,
Yes.
Gilchrist,
Yes.
Parker.
No.
Motion carried. Okay, under mayor communication, I attended a conference with the Ozarks yesterday, invited by Department of Natural Resources, with the topic brownfield projects. Brownfield, I have no idea what it was before I went, but just briefly, if you have an area that is contaminated or needs cleaned up because of contamination, there are grants and monies available. However, the city must own the property. That was the clincher that kind of left it out in left field. I must clarify that, let me get my notes here. There was an article in the Image last week, DPW meetings now on YouTube. I can't let that article go because it sounded to me like it was an editorial without a signature. I asked myself, what business or concern of the DPW chair is it if the city publishes DPW minutes? As I earlier stated, minutes or a written recording of the minutes are not taken by the BPW secretary, but a paid employee of the contractor. Minutes reflect a self-serving account of the meeting, complete with project or activity quotes to reflect a positive position to the public. In my opinion, if the BPW desires their minutes to be published electronically, establish a Facebook site and go for it. City has no purpose or desire getting involved in the BPW minutes. They are a self-supporting agency, so to speak, an executive department of the city. The city does not have direct control over the Board of Public Works. The next item under mayor communication was that I received an email request from Councilmember Bradley. The first request was a request of he requested a copy of city attorney contract and legal invoices, and a copy of canceled checks from January 2014 to June 2015. The second request was minutes from June and July of 2015, Tractor Pull Committee. Again, let me state that all records are open to all council members, all bills, all records. We open the door to the public upon their request. to state a sunshine law reason for record request is going above necessary terminology to acquire records when all it takes from a council member is a phone call or an email requesting the records. To hide behind a sunshine law rationale sends a hostile message. At my direction, all sunshine law requests are turned over to our city attorney for review and response, which costs the city unnecessary expense, but necessary in light of recent actions by some council members and others. The recent history of sunshine law requests has made it necessary for legal advice and response. This in light of the current environment the mayor and clerk's office operates under and has been forced to deal with. To my knowledge, no one has ever been turned down for a public record request. As a council member, why not a normal, open request by phone or email to avoid the term sunshine law? Do I sense an ulterior motive hiding behind the term sunshine law? Are we looking for cover and protection in a deceptive way? Councilman Bradley, would you like to respond?
Sure, I'll be more than happy to. As a new council member, I did not know that I could do that. I did not know that I could go to the city and ask for specific documents. I thought it had to be through the sunshine law. And that is my mistake for being that way. But since you brought it up, I'm going to pass out the invoices that I did receive from you guys on that, from that sunshine law request, since we are discussing it.
By the way, Mr. Mayor, you didn't finish the report of the committee.
It's later in the agenda, is it?
Yeah. That was just special.
Excuse me.
And there's some reasons why I did request these. There's a couple of things that I.
Tell me something. If you have to work so hard that you can't attend a committee meeting, how in the hell did you have time?
Point of order, that has,
Yeah, I've got.
that has nothing to do.
Good question, however.
If you will turn, the reason I brought this up is because in the previous council meeting, we were talking about issues of trying to find money to help with incarceration for incarceration of the people, so the police department can do their job properly. They say that we have $4,500 to spend to incarcerate people. So it seems to me, after looking through some of the invoices on the paperwork that you give us every month, that we spent somewhere around $33,000 on attorney's fees.
Is this the mayor's communication?
Yes, but he's been recognized to respond to my comments.
And it seemed to me that we spent an awful lot of money on attorney's fees, and so that's why I requested it. And then after requesting it and having some time late in the evening, sometimes till 1 o'clock in the morning, looking through some of this stuff, if you'll turn to May 9th of 2014 invoice, and if you go down to the second paragraph there, research and creation of existence of Board of Public Works under Section 110 of the City Code and Section 91.45 of the Missouri statutes. Phone conference with Mayor Rick Edwards, re-authority for abolish and options difficulty in abolishing same. Draft preliminary opinion letter on authority of creation. And then it appears that you've contacted your co-person that you're in business with to discuss the termination of the Board of Public Works. And as I recall, looking through the minutes of from January through June, is that the mayor wasn't even the mayor yet. He was still elected as the mayor-elect at that time. And I guess what my point is that the Board of Public Works, it seems as though a lot of money was spent trying to disband the Board of Public Works. And if you go through here and you figure out, and you add it all up, there was over $4,000 that has been spent in trying to get rid of the Board of Public Works and in harassment of the Board of Public Works. And it's appalling to me that this has happened, because nowhere in those minutes did I find where the council discussed disbanding the Board of Public Works. And that Board of Public Works is a mayor-appointed, council-approved group of people, just like we are, except we're elected, we are citizens of this town. And it seems to be that it just, if you go through here and look at it, it's on and on and on, and it seems like that maybe we should have spent some of that $4,000 on figuring out a way to incarcerate some of this crime in this town.
$30,000.
What we spent on attorney's fees, it was $33,000, I think is what it's on the information that he was given to us for the profit and loss of the city for the end of the year. But it just...
That's not only Joe's fees.
That's not all.
Profit and loss, that's not only his fees.
Yeah, we need to clarify that amount.
Yeah.
That's not for Joe's?
No. We also pay a city
Professional
attorney.
consulting?
A city prosecutor is also paid out of that fund.
If you're looking on the budget, no, it's not all in one.
Let's not mix apples and oranges at this point.
Did you add up these bills?
I did not add up these bills, no.
It's not 30,000.
Well, I thought there was a line item in there for Kathy and Will.
No.
There is not one line for Shelley's.
But I just, like I said, I would like to figure out a way, because if we don't do something about the crime in this town, the economic development's not going to come, and we need to do something about the crime. And if we can do something to help the police department out in getting the crime done, but it just seems as though we're spending a lot of money on trying to get rid of a public Board of Works. I mean, did you guys approve disbanding the Board of Public Works in a council meeting? I mean, the law, I mean,
Never been discussed.
It's never even been discussed.
you know, and then if you go into June's this year, whenever Councilman Gilchrist brought up the fact about disbanding, talking about ways to do something about the police, it shows in here where there was a call to Willard to discuss the police department and disbanding it. This is what it says right here. Review inquiry on abolish the police department study, chapter 71 of city police department draft response to mayor, procedure on real matters requiring ordinance and possible closed session review and issue on disclosure of the police department. So that was discussed in an open meeting. But when was it discussed that we were going to disband the Board of Public Works?
It wasn't.
So then why did you go in here and do this on trying to figure out a way to disband the Board of Public Works?
Why would you spend city money, man?
My
Get rid of us.
inquiry to legal counsel with that question was because we were having difficulty finding individuals to serve on the Board of Public Works. If we could abolish them in a pleasant way where the council could act as a Board of Public Works. We have 8 people that are elected. So the question was raised to see if there was an alternative.
By who?
I raised it.
You raised it?
Yes. I'm the one that has to appoint. I was having trouble getting people, qualified people, to serve on the Board of Public Works. So I made the inquiry.
But this was before
We're
you
having a
were
hard
mayor.
time trying to find somebody who would kiss Mr.
I
Butler.
don't believe so.
And report to you
No.
what you want. D.
No.
Yes, it was before you were mayor, because you were sworn in the night of the 15th of April, and this call was made on the 14th of April. This is before you ever took office.
He was in office in April.
The 15th, the evening of the 15th was when he was sworn in. This call happened on the 14th,
He was mayor, he was the mayor-elect.
right?
Right.
So
He called
then,
the-
so then you just took it upon yourself to figure out a way to dismantle the Board of Public Works before.
Were you on the council then?
There was a full board at that time.
Were you on the council then?
No, sir, I was not.
And so you're questioning my action, and I was on the council.
Okay?
But that's something that, if we were going to discuss disbanding the Board of Public Works, that's something that should have been brought before the council.
Well, it would have been if.
No, not would have been, it should have been before that was ever.
I had to have background to bring something to the council.
But you spent over $4,000 all in the months.
$187.50.
Huh?
$187.50.
That time.
There's
And then
more,
if you go
there's
into-
more.
If you go into, I believe it would be, let's see, April of 2015.
This is in February.
Okay, so there's some in February. Review research regarding entity status of Board of Public Works. Meeting with Willard regarding research on entity status of Board of Public Works. I mean, it just all continues to add up.
Have you calculated the cost of this council, the city has spent on the sunshine law request made by council members?
Order that, we're not discussing this.
We're not discussing
Well,
that part.
we're discussing city taxpayer.
Don't divert. Stick to his issue.
Excuse me.
For
You're an
once.
audience member, not a councilman.
I'm an interested
I know
party.
that on Mr. Silver's sunshine law request, it was over $900 spent.
Thank you. Not willingly, but.
I think it's just points out a good need for a finance committee.
Which we
Those
have
bills
dealt with.
are open, Joe's bills are open to.
Nobody's seen them.
Finance committee, we call
Every
it.
month when you approve this bill,
No.
it's attached.
We approved the expenditure of this bill, but we never wanted to seek legal counsel on this.
You said here at on Tuesday nights, and you can ask for one. I can go right in that office and get it for you every month. You never asked for it.
That's not the point that I'm
Now we
making.
have a formalized way of doing it. We will look at every bill, and we will reconcile that bill and determine if it's a bill that we as council think is justified in being spent.
That's correct. Councilman, then,
But in the meantime,
well, excuse me, I recognize Councilman Ken.
Well, being our third-class city, city government is a weak mayor council form of government, and you're only appropriated to spend $250 without the approval of the council. And if his figures are correct, and you did spend up to around $4,000 on BPW issues.
That if it's not in the budget, Jimmy.
What's
That
that?
$250 is if it's not in the budget.
Okay.
This is in the budget.
To do away with the Board of Public Works?
There's no $4,000. 2 items is for the February.
If you go through,
But the question is, can the mayor take it upon himself to
Just
say,
like you can take it upon yourself, or Sam can take it upon himself to call the attorney.
I've never taken it upon myself to call the attorney to see if, to eliminate that.
But I mean, anybody can.
I've called him to find out, sure, to find out what was the legality. I've talked to you a couple times on that, but I've never called him to talk about eliminating.
No, but you called him, so you can do it. Jimmy called him, he can do it. There was a conference call for the 3 councilmen and a contractor. They can do it, so why can't the mayor call?
I think
Because the mayor's the one trying to get rid of the BPW.
You're out of order. And one more time, I'll have you removed. Now, I would say that, for the record, every call from the city council as a member to the city attorney costs the city $37.50 for every 15 minutes. If you didn't know that, now you do know that. So when you make that call, for whatever reason, it's going to cost the city at least $37.50. Now, it's a lot cheaper to call City Hall, and if you don't get the answer you want, maybe then you can call, but we have a lot of information here, a lot of experience with the city clerk, assistant city clerk, that could answer a lot of questions that were put to the city attorney. When you are elected to a city council, it's a learning process. Oftentimes, you sit there and you observe, you listen, you ask questions. It's a learning process.
That's why I'm on the finance committee.
It would appear that we have a lot of questions, and that's good. We'll find a way to address them now that we know there are questions. But to make an issue out of something that we don't know is an issue until we get to a public forum, it almost sounds like collusion. Because evidently a lot of discussion has taken place prior to this council meeting. And do we have minutes from those meetings? Do we have a record that there was a meeting? I doubt it. Anything else, Councilman Bradley?
I just, like I said, if we don't do something about helping the police department incarcerate some of these people, we are never going to get anywhere in this town until we're accountable until we fix some of the crime. And I feel as though we need to figure out a way to save some money. And it seems though every time we turn around, we run to the attorney for something. It's just, I was thinking of some way that maybe save some money to help incarcerate some of the crime in this town.
Police department budget has not been shorted nor cut.
Right, but we only have $4,500 to incarcerate people, so what's,
Well, that's because that has been the amount that the budget has required for the last at least 3 years. We haven't even spent that much money.
We just recently, this year increased that amount.
Yes.
But is that enough to clean up the crime?
Well, if it's not, we'll ask the council to put some more money in there. We can amend the budget at any time needed. The budget is a working document.
Better question is, ask the police department, the city, or the city prosecutor what we need to do that job. Amen. Because apparently there's a lot of people that don't understand the process and what goes on in the whole process. Go to court, attend court, just go for a ride-along, see what the process is before you start making accusations. Because you're probably going to be surprised. I've been to a couple of court cases and see what goes on, not only on the city side, but on the county side. Laws change in what, August, if I'm right? And probably come August, there's going to be a lot of laws change, and they're probably going to take a lot of this off. What can we do about it? Well, it's not point the blame at this side of the room, it's point the blame towards the higher officials. That's where we have to go. But everybody wants to accuse the lower officials of what's going on. I am no different, I've done the same. I came in here, balls a wall, screaming and complaining about the police department. At least I got involved and tried finding the problem. And not pointing fingers, but I haven't seen anybody in this room over there looking and fighting for them, trying to figure out the problem.
Well, I want to make a statement or a motion last time that we look into ways of improving the police department and form a committee to check into it. And I think I mentioned even maybe changing people that are doing it. But I would be inclined to say, form a committee just to look in and talk to the judge, talk to the prosecutor, and see why won't they prosecute? Is it because they just don't want to, or is it because they're not getting good information? I don't know. But I don't think as a private citizen, I'd have much clout going down there, walking in the prosecutor's office and say, hey, tell me why you aren't doing this. But as a committee of the city, I think we would have a little clout.
But our prosecutor and our judge are elected officials just as well as we are.
Yeah.
So if we don't like the way they do things, it's our job as citizens and for the city representatives to inform the people of the way they're doing things. And it's not helping us none.
All I'm hearing is one side of the story. Why are they doing that?
Well, the Neighborhood Watch is a big support of this. We've had the prosecutor there,
We've had meetings with our new prosecutor as well as our new sheriff, and they were very, very informative meetings, and hardly anybody came.
When
you were at one of them. I remember. I think
You were there when the sheriff was there.
Yeah,
but
Sheriff.
Mr. Raper was there
We
too.
had about a 3-hour meeting
Yeah.
with the new prosecutor. He told us all of his plans. He told us what his agendas were. He told us what he wanted to work on. Nobody came to that meeting.
did anybody ask him why they're not people getting prosecuted out of Holden?
I honestly, I drilled him for 2 hours.
Yeah.
He was probably sick of me.
We gave him the questions, absolutely.
I had a notebook and I started answering him.
Like I said, we talked for 3 hours.
But it's our job as citizens to make sure he does his job. And he's going to prosecute. At this point in time, I'm not happy with how he's doing things, but I understand what he's saying. And, he's got a hell of a workload. He's got a lot of cases coming in. I mean, look at our statistics. I'm working for the fact that the chief's now working on our average statistics. What we do is as far as calls, everything we can get compared to national average, so we can come, I can bring that information to you guys and say, this is where we stand with national. I mean, yeah, our crime rate sucks. I personally was robbed not too long.
I can't get my semi sent to town.
And they caught him, they arrested him, he's in judge. Now it's the prosecutor's job to do his job. We'll see how that goes.
Well, say I haven't been that way.
I had a pretty good idea who did it though.
Pardon me?
I had a pretty good idea who did it. But I didn't step on the police's feet. I worked with the police to get the subject back to the residence that he broke into. And in a roundabout kind of a way, he did his own thing and led enough to a charge to arrest him. Because that's as far as it goes.
She gets your compressor back.
Well, he's not guilty until he's a judge, so. Different story if I thought.
Okay, the other sunshine law request from Councilman Bradley was the minutes from the June and July 2015 Tractor Pull Committee.
That's because I wasn't able to attend your work. I got up this morning at 4 o'clock so I can make sure I can get here tonight for the city council meeting. And I didn't know about the tractor pull meeting this last one until the night before when you sent the email to me.
That was a friendly reminder.
But I didn't know about it until then because I wasn't able to be at the other one because I had a workload. I was out till 11 o'clock that night, still working. My schedule is not set. I don't have a set schedule. It's whenever the phone rings, I gotta go.
Would you like to be relieved of that committee?
No, sir, I would not. I would like to be part of it.
Okay.
I would like to be part of it, right ahead.
We have less than 30 days left on our deadline. Myself, and I don't know how much of Councilman Clarkin is pushed towards it, but I have actually started making contact with your people as we were split list contacts we're supposed to make for sponsorships.
Correct.
Well, less than 30 days, some of these people have got their bosses and agencies to consist with and to get a sponsorship. And if we were to wait for you to do your job, we'd probably lose that time. So, let you know, I stepped on your feet and I went ahead and.
If you think that I need to be off the committee, then I'll be off the committee.
Well, I just want to know if you're trying to, if you want this thing to succeed in.
If I didn't want it to succeed, why would I offer my use of my semi to haul blocks for the tractor pull?
We need the sponsorship money.
I understand that, but I'm willing to help. It's just my plate is full and I can only do certain things at a certain time. And being that the rodeo's out of the way and that's all over with, now I can focus on this. And I plan on focusing on this just as much as I did with helping the chamber put on the rodeo.
And was that a success?
It's the rodeo. Yes, it was a very big success. There was a lot of people there. There was a lot of people in town.
Do you think you have an average number of people that attended the rodeo?
I don't, but Mr. Byers could tell us.
Actually, we had more than last year. Last year was our best attendance we did out there ourselves this year.
Again?
Last year was our best year to date.
Yes.
So we outdid ourselves this year as far as attendance and sponsorship.
Do you already have the financials on the?
Not just yet, I'm still waiting for some bills to come in yet there with the treasurer.
I was just curious how much money.
I don't have the final yet.
I think we're all in agreement that we want to do what we can for the city to make all of these activities succeed. So if we're all on board with that, it will be a success. Okay, under ordinances and resolutions, bill number 050615, the ordinance of the city of Holden amending chapter 50, alcohol beverages relating to provisions for defining issuances of licenses and regulations with regard to establishments obtaining a license for a microbrewery within the corporate city limits. This is the second and final reading of Bill 050615. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Weeks. Do I have a second? Second by Councilwoman Clarkin. Roll call, please.
Bradley?
Yes.
Nipko?
Yes.
Thomas? Yes. Weeks?
Yes.
McDaniel?
Yes.
Raper?
Yes.
Gilchrist?
Yes.
Clarkin?
Yes.
Motion carried. On the agenda, item B, bill number 070116, I would like to table that and move that to the executive session because it involves personnel. Item 5 on the agenda is reports of committees and all other business. We'll start with Councilman McDaniel.
Well, as we talked about earlier, I was trying to find out more information on the park board, and the letter that I got from Sharon, I handed out a copy to everybody, and she states in her letter that the lake expenses at the city lake, I am in the process of talking to our auditor regarding lake permit monies. In the ordinance, it states that no other monies are supposed to be commingled with the park board monies.
And that was the only place we had to put that. That's why I'm talking to, because the auditor told me we need to get that one.
So you heard anything back from the auditor?
No, I have to call him.
And then we talked earlier about the map, the zoning map, the updated zoning map.
That will be presented to council next month.
I think that's all I have.
Okay, Councilman Ricker. Any comments, reports? Thank you for your work on the land situation.
Yeah, we talked with Mr. Miller and Larry and I, and he indicated that he thought he was gonna have enough money to actually do some paving up on Eagle Drive. And he brought his paper down to our place and we're cleaning it up, getting it done, so he'll have something to do. But the thing that I found particularly interesting, I asked him the question, I said, because he was telling me all these responsibilities he's got and everything. I said, what percentage of the time the street department spends would the average person think is actually stuff the street department ought to be doing? Or would do, you know, working on the streets, the sidewalk, whatever. And he said, 55%, I think. So 45% of the time, they're doing stuff that the average person would not really classify as street department work. You know, mowing and I don't know that that's any problem, but it's, I simply point that out to suggest that, you know, their budget may be a little more lacking than we thought it was.
Well, I'll point out one thing, that he did, the street department did tear down 2 various houses, tore down for us, saved us a ton of money. They were willing to do it, I don't think we required them, we just asked them to do it, because we had resources.
What Jim said was that we maybe should increase our budget.
I'm not being critical, I'm just saying, it startled me that it was that much. Of what the average person, you know, would kind of, what's street department do?
Well, that doesn't,
that's manholes,
the street department work.
I need to interject here. 10 years ago, the street department title was changed to the maintenance department. Maintenance is more encompassing of more city functions. So that may add a little insight information there. So it is the maintenance department.
I think it's
called the
still
street department
on the budget, everything, it's the street.
No, that's what I've always called it.
Right, we just didn't
change
change
that.
Okay.
Well, but that's information.
Right.
They wonder why things don't get done. That's maybe.
But he does do a fine job what he did. What we got to work with.
That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're fortunate to have the street department that we've got right now, or the maintenance department. Councilman Court?
I have something I'd like to read, I composed. I feel the need to try and counter the misinformation that's been spread around town about our city council. We all took an oath when we were seated on the council to do our best, to act in the best interests of the city. We have a faction that's doing its best to do the opposite. They go around town spreading rumors, and in meetings they try to make it as difficult as possible to do the city's business. They argue about everything and try to disrupt the meeting. They've been putting meetings on Facebook in an effort to discredit the council members that they oppose. I think that would be a good idea for all citizens to either watch on Facebook or come to a meeting in person and see who's being disrupted. If they are appointed to a committee, they don't show up for meetings or refuse to carry out the duties that they accepted. Again, back to the oath of office. Does this sound like trying to do their best for the business of the city or follow someone else's agenda? We all know there are people in town who put their own welfare first. A few council people are there to protect the interests of a few. The people who ran on platforms of anti-drugs or newer, better streets were just blowing smoke to get elected. We can do what we can about drugs in the schools and fixing the streets as best we can with the money we have. The budget only allows for so much, and the police do what they can, but when the bad guys know who they are, they're pretty tough to sneak up on them. We have a dwindling tax base, so for Holden to grow and prosper, it will take an effort from all its citizens to make it grow. We need an informed electorate and public involvement in our city. Please don't be fooled by lies and innuendo.
Thank you. Councilman Weeks?
Yeah, at this time I'll stand firm on the police department. I'm working on statistics to present. Water board. They're moving in some heavy equipment over there at the sewer plant. They worked on some collapsed pipes and manholes from Lexington from 10 to 6. They had some power issues and blew a pump. They're ordering some parts. Pump should be back in there soon. He's working on consistency plans if the other pump fails, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. They've already budgeted for the replacement of that pump anyway, so it kind of falls under good. They had some electrical issues they didn't expect, but my understanding was built in 1978, so they're trying to get it fixed where it doesn't happen again. I got very little information to give you, just that, I don't know if you guys got a copy of the Board of Works paperwork, but they had a meeting yesterday, it was canceled the week before because of vacations, or somebody was in town, so, and that's it for now.
Thank you. Jim?
Just a comment on the street department, I just want to commend the street department, the maintenance department, if you wish. I asked for a new culvert to put in on the west driveway, and in a very short order, that was done. And not only did they put the culvert in, they also improved the drainage along that area of Grand, so that the water will no longer back up and cause issues. And I want to commend them for the outstanding job that they did.
Okay. Nice to hear something positive. Thank you. Councilman Bradley?
I have nothing.
Okay. Approval of appropriations.
I got one question.
Yes.
6720 on the street department, this is John Deere financing, $21,526.
That's our lease purchase.
Or 3 pieces of equipment, like 2 years ago. I can do it.
I just seen that's a significant amount, it's kind of startled me when I see it.
Once a year payment.
Once a year.
Once a year.
That street grinder there?
There's 3 John Deere equipments.
John Deere backhoe and that street grinder.
The street grinder,
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Yes, administration 6134, advanced tax $750.
That is the engineer.
City engineer.
City engineer.
That's what?
City engineer.
When he comes, we have to pay him for so.
And I think that was, sometimes he doesn't send the bill for like 2 or 3 months.
Oh my God.
Do I hear a motion to approve the appropriations? Motion by Councilman Weeks,
I'll second that.
seconded by Councilman Nichols. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I would entertain a motion for executive session under personnel matters as authorized by 610.0213 personnel.
Make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Faulkner. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman.
Bradley?
Yes.
Nipko?
Yes.
Thomas? James?
Yes.
McDaniel? Fraser?
I'm going to vote.
Bill Press? Okay.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess and reconvene in executive session.